Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. So let's talk about what we're going to do this week. After we review this again, we're going to erase a few more things. And then for your activity, I have a practice quiz. Practice quiz is something to get you ready for the real quiz next week. Yes, the Google form is going to grade it, but that grade is not going to count towards your grade for this 9 weeks. That is just a practice grade, so you can see about where you'll be, so that you'll know how much you need to study for next week. All right? Now, before we start, I want to show you once again the 3 parts of the note, because this is going to make it really easy if you pay attention to this. The first part is the note head. Remember, you have to have a note head. If you don't have a note head, then it's not a note. And that is the most important part, right there, the note head. All right, then after that, you have this long line that goes up or down. Sometimes you can go down. That is called a stem. And then finally we have the flag. All right? Now let me show you how important it is if you can recognize those 3 parts. Take a look at this one, a note head. If you look up at these 4, the one with just a note head, no stem, no flag, just a note head, is always called a whole note, because it's got the whole thing. Just a note head. That's all you need for it to be a note. All right? And that whole note is worth 4 beats. So if you take a look at it and it's only a note head, you can say, that's just a note head. Then guess what? It has to be a whole note. Now, let's take a look right here. You got the little flag thing. If you see a note with a flag, whether it's up or down, it doesn't matter. If it has a flag, it can only be one type of note. The 8th note, which is worth half of a beat. All right? So right there, if you see it's just a note head, that's a whole note. If you see it's just a flag, that's an 8th note. That cuts everything in half. You only have to know 2 different notes then, the half note and the quarter note. It really is that simple. So that is the important part of recognizing the parts of the note. You got to know that the note head is the round part. Look, each one of them has a little round part. The stem is the long part. And even though 3 of them have stems, it's still pretty easy because the flag is this little thing that kind of hangs down or hangs up. If it's got a flag, it's got to be an 8th note. All right? So let's review this. Then we're going to erase this. And this time, it's going to be a little more challenging than last week. We need to be able to tell me the note and how many beats it gets in for time. Okay? All right. So we've got the whole note, which looks like a whole, and it's the only one with just a note head. Spelled W-H-O-L-E. It's called a whole note, and it's worth how many beats? 4 beats. That is correct. Now, whether the stem goes up or the stem goes down, it doesn't matter. If you take a whole note and you put a stem on it, it cuts everything in half, and that makes it a half note. What's the name of it? That is correct, all right? And a half note is worth 2 beats because 4 divided in half is 2. If you take away every other one, then you get 2 beats. That's a half note, all right? Now, when we color in that dot, when we color in that note head, then we get something that looks like this, with the stems going up, stems going down. That is called a quarter note. And a quarter note is worth 1 beat because it is half of 2. You take 2, you pull down one of them, which cuts it in half, right? And that's 1 beat. All right? And then the last one is the 8th note. If you take a quarter note and you put a flag on it, the only one with a flag. The only one with a flag is called what? That's right, an 8th note. And an 8th note is worth half of a beat. Because if we have 1 and we cut that in half, we get half of a beat. Okay? So the whole note gets 4 beats. The half note gets 2 beats. The quarter note gets 1 beat. And the 8th note gets half a beat. Now let's erase that and do a quick practice test. Remember, half of these you can figure out. Half of these you can figure out just by looking at whether or not it has a note head only or a flag only. Right? These are the only 2 that should be confused, and they're not that hard either because the half note is empty or is hollow, and the quarter note is colored in. All right, so let's see if we can get this, all right? Let's take a look at this one, the one with the flag. What's the name of that note? 8th note. If you said 8th note, that is correct. And an eighth note gets how many counts or how many beats in 4/4 time? 1/2. That is correct. It gets 1/2. Now, we're going to be using these eighth notes really soon, in 2 weeks. So it's really helpful that you know that if it has a flag, it's called an eighth note, and it gets half of a beat. Okay, how about this one? The hollow-looking one with a stem on it. Hollow note head with a stem, what is that called? It is called a... If you said half note, that is correct. It is a half note. And how many beats does a half note get in 4/4 time? If you said 2, that is correct. A half note gets 2 beats in 4/4 time. All right, let's take a look at this one right here, the one that's just a note head. It's just a simple note head. It actually looks like I drew something on the board, all right? And what is that called? If you said a whole note, that is correct. That is called a whole note because it looks like I drew a hole on there. And remember, a whole note takes up the whole measure. So how many beats does it get in 4/4 time? If you said 4 beats, because it has 4 beats in 4/4 time, that's why it has 4 up there, right? Then you are correct. A whole note is worth 4 beats. And then finally the last one, which we will see in about 3 weeks on our board work, all right, is this one right here. If you take a half note and color in the note head, right, it has a name. And what is the name of that? If you said quarter note, that is correct. It is a quarter note. And how many beats does it get in 4/4 time? It gets 1 beat in 4/4 time. Now, ladies and gentlemen, you're just going to have to memorize these, all right? Remember, a whole note gets 4 beats in 4/4 time. A half note gets 2 beats in 4/4 time. A quarter note gets 1 beat in 4/4 time. And an eighth note, the only one with a flag, gets half a beat in 4/4 time. You have the study guide from week 1, you have the lectures from week 1, week 2, and now week 3. And remember, just by knowing the parts of the note head and the flag gives away the answer to 2 of our 4 questions, all right? All right, so what I would like for you to do is go ahead and review that work, take a look at the pictures in the study guide from week 1, all right? And when you're finished, take the quiz. All right, there is a 5-question quiz, all right? And you can take it as many times as you want. So make sure you take it enough to get a good passing grade, okay? All right, now this is just a practice quiz. That's why you can take it as many times as you want. All right, but review the work, take the quiz. If that doesn't work, then go back to week 1. Watch that lesson again. Look at those study guides that I attached to the bottom of that lesson. Review that. Take the quiz again. Keep taking the quiz until you are happy with the answer, and then you can submit it. Or if you submit it and take it again and get better, just resubmit it. It will replace it on my classroom, all right? So happy studying, and this is going to be your activity for today because some of you will get it right the first time. Some of you, it might take 5 or 6 times for you to get the answer right. It doesn't matter to me how many times it takes for you to get the quiz right. What's important to me is that you get it right and you can get that 100 that you deserve.